Welcome to a new episode of the Advancing Consciousness series with Franco Di Nicola. This is a place where people can come to gain further insight and clarity as to what is going on and how we can shift things on a personal and global level, while also accessing higher levels of consciousness and awareness. We bring this series to you free of charge so that many are able to access this information. However, if you resonate with what Franco shares and you would like to support his work, contributions are welcomed and greatly appreciated. A link is in the description and will be provided in the chat if you feel guided to do so. Also, we have many previous workshops, such as a couple of our most recent, Maneuvering with Neutrality and Alignment during this next wave of unfoldments, and Deprogram Clearing Empowerment Workshop. You could also join us in our membership program, Let's Talk About You, where like-minded people come together bi-weekly to talk about the topics requiring deeper understanding and clarity. All of these are available on Teachable, and we encourage you to check them out as they are great resources at very affordable prices to assist in better understanding this human experience. The Teachable link will also be provided in the chat and description. And lastly, don't forget to share. As the more of us coming together and creating a shift in oneself, the more effective it'll be to shift things globally. Thank you for joining us and being part of the change. Enjoy today's broadcast.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Advancing Consciousness series, and today we're looking at episode 68. Believe it or not, we keep rolling along and we keep expanding. So the purpose of us getting together tonight or this time, whenever you're listening to this, is that we're now looking at the next stage. So last week, we looked at the whole idea, the perception, and I say perception, of mistakes, failure, guilt, and what was that? Resentment was the other part. And then, of course, we elaborated and expanded, and we did a little process. One of the things we've been talking about for a while has been using our imagination, our creativity, and our visualization capacities. However, people have been finding a bit of a challenge when it comes to the visualization part, not because of what the visualization is so far in that respect, more of how to visualize what is beyond what we are experiencing at this point in time. So, I welcome you for coming together, for us to have this opportunity to play together, to have this opportunity to really explore ourselves. And basically the tools that are provided here are tools to not only remind you who you are, remind you what you already know, but to also give you something to use while you're going through the transition to become more of the grander aspect of who you are. So, if you're new to this, please, depending on where you're at, you can subscribe, you can like, you can put the notification bell if you're on YouTube. If you're on Facebook, you can like, comment, and share. Both parts. Share with as many people as possible, because here we're going through a transformation where more of us coming together will make things much more powerful for us to move forward in a powerful way. And the thing is, we'll get to understand all of this as we continue along the way. I thank everybody for your support and everything else, and we are open for any support to allow us to spend most of our time, all of our time basically, creating content and supporting you guys on the front end and on the back end. Again, we're doing this together. So, Miss Kimberly, as we get to start, we're going to do a process, but we're going to do that at the end, and we're just going to look at some of the things there. All right. Okay, we're just getting some something organized there. Great. So welcome again. We get to play. We get to go into the next level. So let's take a look at what's going on in regards to accessing visualization. Now, we all realize to some degree or another, and some of us have been experiencing it much more powerful, that our reality is of our own making. I know some people, this may be surprising, thinking, no, my reality is, done because other people are co-creating and other people have control over it or have authority over it or something of that nature. But that's not true. We can adopt that idea. We could utilize and build a case around that. We can play with all of that, thinking that in one way or another that others are the ones that are shaping our reality. Now, with all the stuff that's going on right now, many of us, and many people, I shouldn't say us, but many people at this point in time, and you may be amongst them, that feel that we are waiting. We're waiting for change. We're waiting for things to align. We're waiting for certain individuals in key position to be able to step up and play a different role. We're waiting for, sometimes we can say, deities or our alien brother, sister souls. We're waiting for all of this stuff going on. And not only are we waiting, in many cases, we're expecting that the world around us will change or upgrade before we will notice what's going on in our lives. And the thing is, that waiting process is just a distraction to kind of keep you off track what you really have chosen to be doing and how it really, really works. Now, some of you have heard me say over the time of all the different series or episodes that I've done in the series and some of the workshops, and you've probably heard of them by many, many other people, that in one way or another, once we understand how it all works, that we are just in a field of energy consciousness. And this field is what we call source. Within the source, we have what we call spirit, which is source in action, source that creates using consciousness, energy, different spectrums of light, and create holographic, or what we call light illusions of what we experience, including ourselves. We're all part and parcel of it. Now, not to discount this whole experience that feels really real and can be experienced sensorially very real, but to understand the fact that everything that's existing, yes, there may be a matrix, which is an operating system that was designed and maintained to some degree or another, but it's us that does the shaping. Each and every cluster of humans that are on the planet, or at least seems like we're on the planet, but we're not. We're basically in the field and creating that illusion or that experience of being on a planet, being in a physical form, that we're playing with other aspects of ourselves or with other people, which are just part of the field and they're all part of us, really. And we've created these fragmentations, what looks like fragmentations, to give us the opportunity to experience different how can I say, dances with each other and create a scenario to advance ourselves. So you could say, well, I can play a video game and I can play the game. I can play the game with the computer itself, meaning the game itself with its own operating system. That's great. However, it does get a lot more fun and it is actually much more skill building. And even though the computer can be difficult, but to play with somebody else. And the reason we play with somebody else is because we're allowing both parties that are involved to use their skill sets and experiences and whatever else they want to apply in the game. And that makes it more exciting. This is why a lot of people play games online, to play with other individuals around the world. Now, this holographic experience, which we call planet Earth, in our human bodies is a simulation of exactly that. And we are playing along the way in there so that we go and, how can I say, we get to play with each other, okay, and give us the opportunity to have feedback. Now, the more people that we're engaged with, we have more facets of feedback, okay? So today, we're basically playing with your reality, and we're going to do a visualization process. And that was what I started off with, saying that with the playing with your reality, the visualization process is the part of honing our capacities and to be able to use it more effectively. And because right now it depends very highly on the direction that we go with what we do to really experience the changes on a, what we can call global scale, but on a planetary scale. Do you have anything to say? No. Okay, so here we are. As you realize, each one of us, in one way or another, is influencing how the organic matrix, and before it used to be the inverted matrix, actually projects a collective reality. Each one of us is instrumental to some degree or another. Some have taken on a bigger role to be more powerfully instrumental, and others have taken a smaller role, but each and every person. So each rebirth, each soul that comes onto the planet, each reincarnation is the body evolving, meaning that it's becoming more enriched and accessing higher and higher states of consciousness from the feed that it gets from the multidimensional soul and also the human entity. But also the human entity is advancing each and every incarnation. So you can see those facets there, but each time a new soul comes in, or a soul comes in from the multidimensional, and some have been on the planet, some may have not. But as each time they come onto the planet, they're bringing something new. So each and every physical, what looks like physical representation of an individual, which is a facet of ours, is playing a role in making adjustments on the planet, on the playground, and tweaking in one way or another the matrix and also how we interact with each other. So one of the facets to keep the progress forward slowed down, one of the things was that this adopted education and programming and condition came in, because each and every time there was a reincarnation of sorts through body, human entity, and soul, it would actually change the dynamics and urge that evolution even further. And when I'm talking about evolution, it's not the same evolutions, in the sense of what was being explained in the school world, evolving species and so forth. It's about applying more consciousness, more spirit, essence, acknowledgement, and knowing, and using that to reshape what we call the collective playground. So the movement of bodies coming and going, human entities coming in and going out, and all of these souls that come and go from the multidimensional realm, each one has, every incarnation, even if it doesn't make it through the full process, is already creating a change. For example, you can have a woman get pregnant and may have a miscarriage, for example. Just the fact that those two collective genetic encodements and expressions developing in the womb already creates a modification in the mother that is now, that modification is being streamed throughout the planet. First felt is within its immediate space, meaning immediate family, immediate connections and partnerships or whatever. So you can see just on that small scale how much impact that is created on just that alone. Now, each time we're talking about full incarnation and a child comes into the world, what we call a child, which is another spectrum of light, which is every single one is very unique. It's never the same, because each time the body comes into play, it's another blend with different genetic pools, because there's multiple, we're talking billions of different combinations that occur, because every human is developing. Every human, with every interaction, creates another mix. And the mix is also affected by the energies around you, the stage of the planet, who's on the planet. Each time there is a change. So each and every human on a physical level is going to be different, carry slightly different spectrums of light and encodements and expressions. Same thing with the human entity. The human entity goes from body to body to body, and each body can be male and female. It can be in different parts of the world and so forth. Each time it's enhancing because of the new connection with the body and a new connection with a multidimensional soul. Every part advances. Then, of course, every multiple dimensional soul that comes in, which a lot of people call the soul, and the earthbound ones we call human entities. But each of these souls are also bringing in not only experiences, but frequencies that have been gained through participating in the soul family, participating in with other realms, other dimensions, participating in other planets, in different physicalities and different streams of experience, but also different frequencies. So you could see how all of that coming together creates quite a unique cluster of information and codes and energies and expressions. But each one of these expressions always enhances the playground. So right now, what's happening? With all of the stuff that's going on energetically, we're bringing ourselves more aligned. We're basically turning ourselves on to what we've already prepared and needed just to turn back on, because we've brought it in from whatever experiences. And that is part and parcel of what is changing on the planet. The reason we're going through these evolutions. Now, it's been agreed upon. And the thing is, the only time there's an intervention, a true intervention, and when I say intervention, we're talking about another aspect of ourselves, or groups of aspects of ourselves that take on the role to reprogram the matrix, or to retool the planet, would be only when that particular sequence of experiences and all the incarnates have completed, or they have pushed the envelope to a point where they could no longer function in that fashion. So that's when there's an extensive intervention. And the last time there was an extensive intervention of that nature was 15,000 years ago, when the planet was retooled, the planet was reseeded, and everything was redone over again. Now, we've come to that point many, many times, or I shouldn't say many, many times, several times, where in the last 30 plus years, where we could have gone that far and created a scenario where a resetting, or what we can call a retooling, would have occurred, and a new reseeding. However, we chose not to. Now, it wasn't just a choice by us, it was a choice by, you have to understand, we have soul families. Of course, we have also our brother-sister souls, which are extension of our soul families in a sense, that are very connected. So that means there was already a discussion that occurred not only on planet Earth, it was discussed with the planets in the solar system, and also the planets are actually the solar systems within the galaxies, to see if that would be beneficial. However, because planet Earth was so unique in its state, and mind you, all of them are unique to some degree or another, but this was kind of an experimental uniqueness, that it was a key to keep this one going and to aid it without any interference. The reason I'm building up to this is the fact that we are looking for change and we're ready for change, but the change is not intervened by our brothers and sisters. I know a lot of people say, well, I'm waiting for the beings to come in, to start to show up and get rid of all the negative people or the bad people or whatever, the cabals or whatever they want to call it, with all this other stuff. But the thing is, like I've said many times before, it's really not serving us in a powerful way unless we kind of do it together. And we may get some assistance here and there, but it's not like take it away from you and we'll fix it for you and then you can go back and play, or we'll fix it while you're playing. It doesn't work that way. Because looking at what is the highest benefit and advancement for each one of us is for us to be hands-on, to work together to do so. So it comes to what I've been talking about for a while now in different episodes, where we have to use our imagination. We have to use our creativity. We go into accessing within ourselves that we have this new world. This new world is just a label that we've given. This world is an advanced version of how we want to express and experience ourselves, to bring and create the world around us and ourselves to be using more of our true design in its upgrade. Because the design that we've been experiencing was not the original. Even though we had that for the first 5,000 years, we haven't for the last 10,000 years. So here we are. So with everything that's going on right now, it's preparing us to step forward more powerfully. And many of us have already and are just accelerating that. What does that mean? We are becoming more aware of our essence, our creative ability, and our skill sets so that we can start using it more powerfully to start shifting ourselves. Because remember, we're that column of light with consciousness and so forth, with a very specific signature that is very powerfully instrumental in changing every facet around you at this point in time, in launching or bringing forth that new world that we talk about. The new world, again, like I said, is back to alignment of your true essence and having that reflection within ourselves. So going back to the imagination, creation, and so forth, one of the obstacles that people run into is that when they go into visualization, they have focused a lot of time on dreaming, a lot of time on imagining, and many people have also been trained and conditioned and taught, let's say that, shared, how to visualize. And it's not so much the visualization. What are we using as the resources of your visualization? Are you still visualizing? And this is kind of the thing that a lot of people have a difficult time with, visualizing the old world or the new world. Is it the world within you or the world that reflects outside of you that's already a co-creation? And this is why we talked about going from manifestation to creation. Well, manifestation is bringing forth a similar experience that has been created. So most people use the visualization and access creativity and imagination with a certain level of limit that is actually just replicating a slightly different version of what already exists. The thing is, what already exists, we have to keep in mind, is already an old design. It is constructed from that inverted matrix when everything is backwards, and we're still dealing with it. This is why we still see the world kind of functioning backwards. And meaning what's true is false and what's false is true. Then there's the fragmentation of light and dark and good and bad and so forth. And all of that at this point in time is, so if you look at back in any part of your life stream and history and the life stream of Gaia, the planet itself, it has 10,000 years of that invertedness, which is in the process of reversing. Now, Gaia, the planet, whatever you call it, is ready already and able to go it to its natural state because it's already been accepting all of that. The only delays that's been experienced at this point in time is to give us time to align with it, because, you know, as we're doing so, we're enhancing ourselves. Okay, so the key here to understand in all of this, as we are going through this stage, is that, like I said, we're going from the manifestation to creation. Creation is brand new. Creation is using consciousness and using imagination to create something that does not already exist on planet Earth, or is a really enhanced version of it. You probably heard it many times as children. You know, the children get around into imagination and thinking about fairies, this and that, whatever. There's many, many, many versions of that. But, you know, and then, you know, the adults are saying, yeah, get your head out of the clouds, you know, start looking at your life and get real. Look at life the way it is. Use your imagination to create what is accepted on planet Earth, or what is, you know, the way things work, which is, again, it's not its natural state. Now, of course, we adopted it for a particular period of time to give us the opportunity to experience it, but at the same time, it was not there to remain. Now, some of us have played with it for quite a long time, some of us for less time. So part of the transformation now is to bring us back into that imagination. Of course, it's advanced. Of course, it's not going to be the same imagination as it was before, but you're tapping into imagination where there are no limits. Okay? Now, the instrumental part to understand, when we start using imagination, this is why we're doing this whole episode, and we're going to do the process accordingly, and we're going to do it together, is to to access a visualization that is using creativity and imagination, that actually creates an advancement of how we experience and what the reality reflects around us. Now, it will go beyond, allowing us to go beyond what we've already adopted as a way of life and experience and reality, because the thing is, many of us got conditioned for a long time that we plug in not only what's already been recreated, but we're putting it out into the reality or in the field around us, and really expecting that feedback or immediate gratification or feedback to kind of dictate if we're doing it correctly or not. Okay? Yeah, that's a good point. You want to look at it and see what you're creating and what you need to tweak. But what we're talking about now is going something beyond all of that. So we're not going to put, you know, attention, so much tension, energy, and so forth on what has already been created. We're going to look at something brand new. Now, one thing I want to clarify with that before Kimberly asks her question or shares her comment is that many people feel that, okay, I'm going to go visualization because I want to change my reality. And yes, rightfully so, that does play a role. However, it's very key and instrumental for us to practice this visualization, limitless visualization. Even if we don't access all of it, we're already encoding it. But what does that do? First thing that it does, first thing, it starts to open us. It starts to create an adjustment within us, because many of us would like to imagine, and we can, but we haven't created a norm within ourselves, or what we call an opening within ourselves, to even be able to say, that is my own reality, and my own reality does not have to reflect anything at this point in time. Because what's happening is you're reflecting, or you're going into that visualization, and then either the ego or the patterns will kick in and say it's not only it's not possible, but we also have blocks, if you want to call it blocks, but different grooves that are cut in within our pattern of thought and the pattern of accessing whatever energies that are involved in that and consciousness of that, so that we actually step back into creating more of the old stuff, right? So the first part of the visualization, imagination, and so forth that you will practice And this is not just a one-time thing that we're just doing now. This is going to be something that you will practice on a regular basis. And as you do so, it creates an adjustment within you. That's the first place it has to adjust. It has to align you to go into that more natural state of that visualization, that more natural state of imagination, more natural state of creation within yourself. Because it's not like I'm going to visualize and it's outside of my reality. Many of us have put in restrictions to that only to give us time to change into it, meaning that we grow with it first and then we start to make it more live stream, in the sense we're seeing the reality and then reflecting the reality and advancing the reality back and forth. So many of us have been conditioned for so long, exposed to so much programming and so forth, and we have a lot of label stories and so forth, that imagining something is very difficult. For example, somebody wants financial resources and so forth. To go into the imagination that you can just plug it in, and it doesn't matter if it's there or not there, in the sense of it playing an active role or not, because you have to understand most of that stuff, when you're going into that new reality, it's not about having financial resources to be able to better to make things better for you, or the fact to feel good or happy or anything of that nature. It's about experiencing that reality, and that the financial resources doesn't even apply. Now, as part of the bridging, you could say, okay, well, it's there, but you're not focusing on creating money. You're focusing on creating the reality. You're seeing yourself, experiencing yourself in that reality, and then whatever resources, because of where we are now, will come into play. You will plug that in as a back-end part of it. Again, the plug-in is only temporary. So say you need financial resources. The financial resources will come along only for a period of time while we're going through the transition, because eventually that's not going to be required. Ownership won't be required. Any of that won't be required. And we're not talking about socialism, communism, or anything of that nature. Nothing to do with that at all. It's a fact that, you know, in our true state, we're not going to be using any of that, because we'll see what the design was originally, which creates restrictions and so forth, and also to keep us distracted. You're going to say, go ahead.
Oh, it's just a question that came up. Belinda is asking, did the collective split back in 2011? And if so, how does this affect us?
What do you mean split 2011?
She just is asking, did the collective split? Like we've heard other people talk about the collective splitting. I'm going to assume, she can clarify this if she'd like to too.
Yeah, she can clarify. I know there's a lot of people that have talked about splitting and so forth.
Like thinking like the people that are, you know, staying back and those who are moving forward, possibly?
Well, okay, there has been decisions that have been made by different souls that either they are going to be active in building that new world. The word is not the best I'd like to use, that advanced world, and others will say, no, we're not interested in that, but we will support many of the ones that are moving forward, so we'll play whatever role we need to play, and when we're no longer of service, we can leave. So was there an actual split? There are two focus points that have been created, ones that are the builders of this new reality, and the other ones are the supporters of that reality until they're required. So there's that part. The other split that occurred, which was in the end of 2019, or some point at that point, was it 2019, that we had where the two platforms were established. So the platform was Organic 3D and Organic 5D. Of course, we had both the inverted matrix and the true matrix, but then the inverted matrix got turned off too. So now we only have the organic matrix. We still have those two channels that are inverted 2D and inverted 3D that is still somewhat active, because we're putting a lot of focus and time in around that. So do we have splits? We do have cluster energy forms that have been established. that we are using at different points in time. Do we have two separate worlds? Well, we have two overlapping worlds. And eventually what happens is as your frequency changes, you will see one or the other. I mean, they still have the opportunity to bounce back and forth for a period of time. Eventually, there's a merging, but we're talking the merging of the organic 3D and organic 5D, not the merging of the inverted 3D and 2D. So this is the thing. Right now, we're being offered everything. Right now, we're offered the 5D with possibly higher, but we also are offered the organic 5D, the organic 3D. We have kind of a 4D in between organic, which is kind of not, there's no platform to support it, but it's a level of consciousness as part of a bridging back and forth. But we also have the inverted 3D and the inverted 2D, and we also have the inverted matrix that we are projecting out. It doesn't exist. There's no transmission for it anymore. The matrix is gone. The only facet that's left of it is the what we call the ego mind and the memory. See, the thing is, this is the part of the purging that we're going through, and this is why a lot of these powerful energies are moving through us to bring forth and purge from us the attachments, the definitions, the labels, the anchors we have to our past, to the past that was inverted 3D, inverted 2D, in that inverted world, where everything was backwards. All of our systems are still there. And a lot of us rely on those systems not to collapse because of the fact they're afraid what that would mean. If it collapses, that's all we know. This is our support system. This is our safe line or safety or whatever you want to call it. My security. So the thing is, it's like, show me that new world before I will jump the old world. The thing is, the new world is in progress because we're doing it. And this is why tapping into that level of visualization of this world that's within you, that's emerging through you. And the reason I say through you, because each one of us is a contributor, is part of that building block of that new world. And when I say new world, we're talking about the world that is in its true design, in its advanced state, that actually supports the state that we want to experience ourselves more fully and in that advanced state rather than the state that we played before. So that's where hopefully that answers the question about the split and whatever else, because there's been a lot of talk about splitting and so forth. We have those channels, but we also have the opportunity to move through all of that. Again, they're just platforms, and we can choose to use it any which way we choose. Now, as I was saying, the whole focus here is now to go in and look at how we use our imagination, creativity outside, and when I say outside the limits that have been adopted and utilized that reflect the old world. Okay? So if I had to say, here's the old world. Now, the old world, of course, is the inverted 2D, the inverted 3D, and the inverted matrix. Now, what else we need to understand all of this? We have spent a lot of time, put a lot of energy. We built a life stream in that. We invested in it. And what does that mean, invested? We're not talking about money. We're talking about time, experience, our own personal resources. So we've put a lot of time and energy in this old world. Now, this is your new world. For us to be able to access this new world is letting go of this. Because you have to understand, it's all to do with frequency and access of consciousness. What do I mean? To be able to play this game, which we've got so much skill at, you have to minimize your access point of your consciousness. What is consciousness that I'm referring to? Knowing thyself as spirit, source, creator. So you have to put a lot of that aside and kind of not access it to be able to play here. Not only that, you have to lower your frequency. So you lower your frequency. You're now working at a lower range. Okay? Light and dark is still referred there. We're talking about the negative, what people call negative world. This is the area where everything, first of all, it projects separation, it projects sacrifice, struggle, survival, fear, feeling that you're vulnerable, the victimizer role plays in there. That's all here. And we have a lot of invested energy, time, and lots of collected experiences from it. Okay? This new world is a higher frequency. This new band that you go into, okay, uses a different, because here the imagination, creativity is what we call the manifestation part, but it's in the lower range. You're basically trying to copy what already has been created in that and being supported. Now, you have to understand all of our systems, everything that you see that's starting to break down, even the ones that are still holding on pretty tight, was an old construct. It's that. It's all of that. Okay? So, if we're going to go into the visualization and we're going to refer to this, you're going to just continue to perpetuate that old world. Now, for many of us, it's feeling so unnatural. And it's feeling heavy. It's feeling like you're carrying a load. And it's slowing down things. That's because you're noticing the contrast. Part of you is already feeling this while still living there. So the process that we're going through with all these energies and so forth, it's not only lifting your energy, raising your frequency and energy, not only is it raising it, it's actually stirring up all of this that you have carried. Now, what does this have? This has memories, it has labels, it has definitions about yourself, about your experiences. It's very reflected to the old world, meaning the world that we've been experiencing up to this point in time and still are in the midst of it. So with that, it's stirring this up. It's destabilizing it. Now, for many people, they're feeling it much more powerfully. Some others, very minuscule. Some don't even notice it practically because they have chosen to play and stay there for whatever time it serves to do so. Not only to assist the ones that are moving forward, but also the capacities for them to just have that experience because that's all they came for and they're ready to leave whenever it's done. So this new world, okay, is already within you, which is basically your encoded expression. And it requires you to go into these higher ranges and frequencies, but you need to let go of the lower frequencies, lower capacities of whatever has been created. Go ahead.
Okay, I have someone asking a question. How does it work when we purge or are in the process of purging and we want to start understand what 5D Earth is and what it can look like, but others are still living the inverted dimension in the inverted dimensionality?
Right. So that's a good question because in essence, when we're looking at this, it's for us, you look at the world the way it is and see it for what it is. You do not put focus, that is your world, and it's concrete, unchangeable, or that it has to change before you change. So you may have people around you that are still playing that inverted stuff. Let them play. Let them do whatever they need to do. It's for you now to go into this state of going into a sort of a meditation, an altered state. You go into a quiet state and you use your visualization to see the world through those higher states of being. You're looking through the eyes of a higher aspect of yourself. So you see the world. If the ego or anything else comes and say, well, that's not possible, the world will never change that, just notice that that's still very much this trying to hold on to, which the ego loves to use, which is an artificial intelligence. Anyways, so just notice it for what it is, acknowledge it, thank it, love it, and let it go. But the thing is, when you're in that state, allow yourself to see that vision, to see it, feel it, express it within yourself, and allow yourself to be immersed on it on a regular basis, and it starts to change you. It starts to change what you see, in the sense you see less of this, even though it's around you, this becomes less a focal point, and it also doesn't have the same impact, and you'll see more and more of this new world. Each one of us has a certain twist on what the new world is. But the thing is, it gets fine-tuned as you allow yourself to experience it. And how do you experience it? Like I say, you go into that in visualization, see yourself living it. Any doubts come up, it's just the ego. Thank it, love it, let it go. But at the same time, just put it into the field that's around you. At the same time, just allow yourself to immerse in that. That becomes an internal reality at first. Look at us. We all, to some degree or another, internalize what we've been seeing. A reality that we need to fight. A reality that we need to sacrifice. A reality that takes a lot of effort, that we, have to survive. A reality where it has limits. A reality that, life is not for us to play unless certain resources are. So we got conditioned to that. So we're reversing that. And how does that reverse? By each and every time that you go in there, start to envision. And don't put the details in, I need to have the financial resource, I have to have this partner, I have to. No, you just start living it. And if you see something in there, it does not matter if it's there or not. You're just envisioning it. And when I say it doesn't matter, you're not setting up an expectation while you're having the visualization, an expectation for this and this to happen. Because what's happening, as soon as you plug in an expectation, it creates a limit. So it's a matter of just experiencing. You see yourself in nature, see yourself in nature. Feel the connection with nature. See yourself doing all parts of that. What happens, it starts to encode you, unravel some of the old world stuff within yourself, and it becomes more of a reality within yourself. You start to experience and feel it much more clearly, and then that starts to emanate from you. Even though it may not reflect very quickly with what you see around you to a bigger degree, but you already see the subtle changes, because how you feel about yourself, how you respond, how you engage with things is going to change. Each time you do it, first is the internal change. Then you're going to see how you start reflecting. And then you start noticing your immediate reality start to change also. Sometimes it's more instantaneous than others, but sometimes it takes a little longer. But the only reason it takes a little longer is because we're going through other purging or deeper purging and so forth. And this is why we looked at the last episode. If you missed it, I would strongly suggest to look at the fact of the whole idea of mistakes and things of that nature, because that becomes an obstacle, or poor choices or something of that nature. Because the thing is, that's from that old world. We don't have to give any power to that. We want to be in a position where we can actually access that state of saying, okay, this is where I'm at. Because the world around us is the playground, But we don't have to use that playground. You can use the imagination. Now, of course, you're going to still do certain things in your reality, but you're already going to feel different about it. You may make different choices around that, and then eventually the everything around you starts to kind of shape more and more to align with you. And as we're doing that, you're affecting the whole collective. You're seeding and feeding and nurturing the whole collective. Go ahead.
The same person is saying my increase in frequency is triggering all those around me. It feels like navigating a war zone.
Yes, that's a good one. A lot of us have gone through that. So as your frequency goes up, just allow it to go up. Do not adjust accordingly. And let, if you're having emotional charges because you're seeing it as a war zone or whatever it is and it's bothering you, you want to definitely write down what's bothering you about it. Doesn't matter what anybody's playing, whatever role they're playing or anything of that nature. That does not matter. So see why it's important for you to see it a certain way versus another, meaning that I have to have my environment reflect this way. So you allow your higher energy, your consciousness, and whatever else, and let everything adjust accordingly. So if certain individuals do not want to play with you, they don't. Okay? We've all gone to some degree or another, and some have gone through a lot. So there's going to be changes of playmates because some of these playmates are not ready to shift. So they're going to choose not to play with you. Others will just test you, even though they're not conscious of testing you, and push that old narrative or that old world, but you're completely neutral because you're not triggered by it. You have no expectations from them, meaning that they have to change to match with you. You're allowing them to be themselves. And the thing is, if it doesn't align, it doesn't align, and they go play somewhere else, or you go play somewhere else. So if you're noticing a war zone and it's creating a lot of turmoil for you, then there's still a deeper engagement, and there's certain parts that are still active within yourself that you want to address. And that you address, and like I've talked about it in many episodes, is you write the stuff down, and when you write it out, map it out and see what the story behind it, because it really relates back to you. We've all gone through it. In my own experience, Kimberly's, all the people that I've dealt with, I've worked with thousands of people over the years. And they all go through it. There's a change. But the thing is, there's an honoring that occurs. An honoring for people to be wherever they are. But you're going to honor yourself. You're going to respect yourself. You're going to respect them, but you're going to respect yourself to be where you want to be. And if they don't want to play with you, that's fine. And if there's intermittent playing, that's fine too. But the thing is, you're still going to be true to yourself. You're still going to be the true you. And yes, when your vibration goes up, you may not be welcome in certain areas, because what happens? If you've got, let's say this is a cluster. Oops. A cluster of playmates. In there, there's a certain energy, a certain level of consciousness that they're playing with. Energy. That's a terrible R. A certain level of energy, a certain focal point that they may choose to play with, that they've created what feels like home, because they're all playing there. Now, you enter there and your vibration's higher, you're going to create a disruption. Some may choose to engage with you, others may not. Sometimes you go into something like that and they're saying, no, we want to still play where we were before, don't come disrupt it. Now, they may not say it in those words, but you may get the feedback and so forth. However, the thing is, you're not going to lower your frequency just to go play there. I see it with my own family. I go visit, I am still myself, whatever it is. They play whatever it is. Communication may be very low. Interactions may be very low. Yeah, you have a history with them, so you'll see them, whatever it is. But again, it's only a small portion of the ones that play. Others, they don't show up. You're not going to participate because you're wherever you're at, because it's about you holding on to you. Did that make it clear? Do you want to share something, sweetheart?
No, there was another question.
Okay, go ahead.
So there Another question from
Mhm.
Susan. She's asking, from where do new images come? Most of my images of better derive from what I have already known, or from the energy of what I have known.
Yes. And that's what we're gonna play with, because this higher energy, this higher consciousness is going to come through you. It's not here. Okay? Even though it presents here at times, you're going to put the focus in your heart. And when you're focusing in your heart, you're now accessing higher consciousness. It's kind of the hosting part. First of all, because the soul, the heart, we're talking the heart chakra, is a transmitter receiver to your multi-dimensional soul. Your gut, or what we call solar plexus, is the transmitter receiver to your human entity, which is the soul that has earthbound experiences. And of course, you got the body, which the body is not limited to your body. It's made up of a lot of different inputs, in the sense that when it comes to genetics and so forth, but it's also the full expression of Gaia before we even start looking at the DNA, because each DNA is a transmitter receiver to a specific species that was a contributor, and they're active in communicating. Now, of course, most of us have had it all turned off. It's starting to come back online. So what I would suggest is that when you get to that quiet state, put your attention in your heart, connect, see yourself entering into your heart. Now you're going into that point, because the body, your human entity, the solar plexus, will communicate with the heart, and at times it'll come up in the mind because it communicates to the right brain, because the right brain is the receiver. The right brain receives information from your body, it receives information from your human entity, from your multidimensional soul, and also from your third eye, which is basically other souls that are communicating. Now, even your multidimensional soul is much more than just your isolated soul with only a specific signature. It has a twin soul with the same signature that may be embodied somewhere else, or be form and non-form. You also have a whole soul family, which is made up of another 23 souls at this point in time. If you're looking at 11 different signatures with duplicates for each one, so you have basically 23, including your twin soul, of a variation. And that's just the first cluster, which we call the oversoul, when you put that whole unit in of consciousness. And so we have all of that. So you're basically going to focus in your heart, and you're going to go into that space where it feels that essence within yourself. And when you're focusing on that, and we're going to do that part of the process anyways, but when you're tuning into that, when you're feeling that connection with yourself, and we're going to do some of the steps to prepare you, but when you're doing that, you will start to feel. You will feel, you may have visions, you may have a sense of what this world looks like. Now, you're going to repeat this time to time. A suggestion from myself would be daily, specifically because you're going to, each time you do that, you create a more open pathway to be able to access it much more clearly and much more abundant, in the sense of a larger access point and receiving much more of that. So you're not going to use what already exists in the world. You may plug it in later, but that's automatic. You're just going into that world that feels natural to you. And that world may look very different than the world that we're experiencing now. That world may be having no attachments, would have complete freedom, would have no dependency on, say, sustenance, or dependency on, external support systems or others of that nature. Doesn't mean you won't have it. It doesn't have the same attachments, the same expectations of before. So it's a matter of going into the heart. Kimberly, you wanted to say?
I was just going to say, to pay attention to your dream time, because I know I've gotten images through dream time that are, not from this reality. where I, can go in and snap my fingers and essentially change my reality in a moment and stuff like that, or see a totally different concept. So paying attention to dream time too, because stuff will filter in through that way if that's an easier way for you to receive it.
Yeah, and dream time is very powerful because the thing is, it gives us a taste. First of all, dream time is used in one way where it kind of helps you bring up all the old stuff that's reflective of that inverted 3D, 2D type of thing that kind of hasn't been exposed yet or played with or cleared out yet. So it may come up where old memories, old visions, or even another version of it that you've never experienced before that actually still trigger in a more clear, more powerful way that old programming or label definitions or something of that nature. The other part of the dream state is actually showing you there are multiple realities. There are other levels of realities accessible, and because you can play there, you will see that there's much more possibilities within it, because we've been kind of conditioned and been playing where the possibilities are restrictive or work very slowly or something of that nature, where there you don't have the same limits. That works for both ways. To recreate scenarios to trigger you, of course you could see it doesn't have the same limits. It doesn't work as slowly. You can create anything, plug in anything at this point in time. So you will create scenarios where you can experience some of the old stuff a lot faster and be able to address it and clear it all out. But at the same time, you're also using the dream state, and the dream state becomes a part where you actually get to see other versions of possibilities. And when I say possibilities, everything is possible, but what possibilities best service to yourself and the collective. So the dream state does play a powerful role. So thank you, Kimberly, for bringing that up. She's the brains of the operation here. All right. Okay. So I think that was it. Okay. That was the introduction. So I've made a bunch of points here to kind of, I may have covered a lot of this already. Okay. So one of the things, let's shift it. Playing and expanding our reality by using another level of visualization that accesses your natural imagination and creativity to go beyond your current adopted game of life. Because all of us have, at one point or another, adopted this idea, this is the game of life. What we see is what it is. What we experience is what it is. This is what we have to play with. We can't really get outside of that. That may have served to a certain point in time, but right now, that does not serve. Because if we stay attached to that idea, then it really slows down the progress. It really impairs what you can actually do or not do. So this is the thing. We have to look at that. Because all of us have adopted the current game as a way of life. Okay? And look, we're getting a lot of support. The media, education, religion, whatever. There's many, many resources. One another to support what? This is reality. This is how it works. Get your head out of the clouds or whatever. Stop coming up with these crazy ideas. You know, we got to work together. We got to fix this. We got to change this or whatever. This is what you got. This is what God gave you or whatever. I mean, there's lots of different terms and a lot of different belief systems that came in there. And we adopted, okay, this is what it is. Okay, we got to wait for the right government. We got to wait for some savior. Oh, yeah, we got to wait for our brother, sister souls in alien bodies and whatever else. There's only a smaller group of that, but more of, you know, let's put leaderships in place and whatever else. And it's saying, this is the fact of life. You have to sacrifice. You got to work. You got to do this. You got to do that. I mean, I'm not saying we're not going to do anything, but at the same time, we do what we love to do. And what we love to do is a lot more amazing than you think. It's not just limited to a few little crafts and things of that nature, because a lot of people just tend to think that that's the way it is. A lot of people love to use, go into technology, science, education, and deeper understanding and expanding and whatever else, and really love that, because most people love to do what they feel most natural with, but haven't given themselves the opportunity to for a period of time. And this is kind of the things that are coming up. So what we're looking at is playing and expanding our reality by using this level of visualization. And that's the visualization I was talking about, going into your heart, connecting with that limitless part, the part that has no idea that it has to be constructed, has to be slow or anything about nature, because it sees that what it is pure spirit, source, essence as creator. Now, of course, we came to play on the playground and we've created a certain sequence, but the sequence doesn't have to go as slow. Of course, we are chosen to play with a lot of different playmates, so we will adjust accordingly with other playmates how we move forward to what speed. Of course, now we're getting that urging, that powerful essence and so forth to move a lot quicker. And as I was saying earlier, this old world is being challenged in such a powerful way that all of these bursts of energies, these portals that are opening up, and all of this craziness and polarization, accentuated polarization, is really so that we can actually see that old world more clearly and make the choice of purging that old world to allow yourself. And this is the beauty of it. As you purge this, so as you're purging it, your vibration starts to go higher. As your vibration goes higher, this becomes more, the new world part becomes much more real, much more tangible, much more reflective around you. Look at it. Example, how many of us have gone through already changes in your life? You are already playing at a higher frequency. You're already playing at a higher consciousness. Some of you have changed your careers, changed your relationships, changed your focus, have redirected where you're not in survival or flight or fight or anything of that nature. Let go of all of that stuff, or let go of some of it. And you're living a different life. You're already feeling a different life, even though if it's not 100% let everything go. Now, how many of us have thought, well, you look back at your life and say, wow, I'm surprised I was able to do that before. Because now you're looking at, I can't do it. Because a lot of the stuff that we may reflect is in that old world, which requires the lower frequency. And because you've gone to the higher frequency, it's so hard to go in a lower frequency. This is why a lot of times I say, as long as you've already experienced a raising of your frequency and vibration and access to your consciousness, you can't really go play in that old life. Many of us, you know that. You can't step back. You're different. You're creating from that higher state, so the alignments won't come. So you can't go back to that old game, that old way of life, that old relationship, that old career, that old way of connecting with others. You're basically, and this is why there's also a change of relationships. And I'm not talking about just significant partners. There's relationships with family, relationships with friends, relationships with work, even relationships with yourself. Because many of us have had a really messed up relationship, what we call messed up. I'm just throwing that word in just to play with it. But a fragmentation of ourselves. We never really had a holistic relationship with our body, our human entity, our soul, our mind. We just created a fragment. Now it's coming back together for many of us. But relationships where we had to give ourselves away, where we couldn't be ourselves, that doesn't appeal any longer. Why? Because your vibration is going higher. You're dropping more of that. How did I erase all of this? I must lean into it. So you're shifting all of this. It's just dropping off. Dropping off. So look at the world right now. this lockdown, restrictions, authoritative people stepping in and telling you, oh, you got to do this or you got to do that, and if you don't do this, you can't do that, and if you don't follow, then we can incarcerate you or do whatever, fine you, whatever it is. What is that? That's this on steroids. This accentuating to the point where you say, you know something? Not even going to go there anymore. So what are you going to end up doing? You're now going to step into creating your own reality. Not through conflict and fighting and demonstrating and whatever it is. You now start seeing that world within you, which doesn't have any of that. It causes a complete disrupt in the operating system. An operating system that is falsifiedly projected. You're changing the codes. If anybody watched the Matrix, near the end, he says, we're just going to disrupt the code in that Matrix. Well, it's not so much the Matrix. We're just activating the truer codes in that organic matrix. But the thing is, we're no longer going to give encodements and support of that old design. So that's what we're going to do. It's not about having more stuff and resources, and I've talked about it, to have, making things better. It's an entirely new design. So you're not going to go in envisioning, make my life better, to have more stuff, or to get out of survival. You don't want to go with any of that. Because that limits you. And it puts you in a disempowered state. If you're going in to envision, to fix your life, to change your life, it causes a restriction. Because now you have a judgment of the old life. The old life is perfect. But you're going into that vision to access that other aspect of you that's wanting to come through you. You're accessing that to come through you. This is the same thing. If you want to make any changes, you cannot judge what you already have. You can't look at the world and say the world is screwed up. It's messed up. It's, in self-destruct. Well, it could look that way. No, you see the world, this is a beautiful co-creation. And I accept the co-creation. It's beautiful. Anybody could play with it, no problem. However, I'm now accessing that new world that's in me, because that new world cannot be held back anymore. It needs to project from me. Go ahead.
Jane is saying nothing makes sense anymore. All of it, nothing resonates with the old books, old teachings. Does not give me joy anymore. It is also sometimes challenging to go forth into the unknown.
Yeah, because the ego likes to say the unknown is dangerous. The unknown is something you have to be afraid of. And that's why they say the fear of the unknown, because it creates this sort of illusion that the unknown is unsafe. The unknown is not calculated. The unknown can take you for a ride of some sort. That's just kind of the construct that we have that has been encoded from this old world. Because the ego works only in this range. It doesn't work on other ranges. So yes, you're going to have that. But the more you go into that quiet, you connect with yourself, you connect with more of your home, your true home frequency, at whatever that is at the highest level at that point in time. Of course, it's going to continue to elevate. Because that home is a very grounding energy. It's self-grounding. It's not only Gaia grounding. I mean, Gaia supports us very much so, specifically physically, but the grounding of that higher aspect of yourself is going to be grounding to yourself, grounding to your heart essence, your source essence. I mean, you are already all source. I mean, it's not separate of it, but each one is encoded slightly different to give us a different experience. Go ahead.
Someone is asking how fast in optimal circumstances could we dismantle the inverted matrix?
How
How fast could we dismantle in the best of?
Well, The inverted matrix is already gone, and it's been gone for a while.
Really up to us.
It's really up to us how much of it we're still projecting. And how does it get projected? If we believe that the world is still the way it is, guess what? Look at it this way. If people, and I say this if in a playful way, if people was not exposed and did not continue to focus on what the screen is showing us, what the world is showing us, that we're not exposed to the media, we're not exposed to all of these influences, you will notice that everything around you starts to change a lot quicker. If we recognize all this fear and all this other stuff is just ego on the play mode that is being stimulated, by recognizing that, it already changes in a huge way. So all that exists right now is us projecting this old world. So each one of us, because of our programs, belief systems, or perceptions, that what life is, we're the only ones projecting it. And the media is only a reflection of saying, hey, this is real, this is how it works, this is whatever. This is why there's such an accentuation. And like the other person had said, that nothing relates or feels in alignment for you, probably not the correct words that she used, but in essence, nothing feels comfortable anymore or aligned with, is because of the fact that you're going into these higher states that this older reflection does not match, and you're already starting to live that life. And this is the thing, is not only using the envisionment, that you now start taking action, living it. So the first part is to experience it through the imagination, creativity, and whatever else, and then start taking action as it exists. And it will continue to unfold, and it become much more reflective in your reality around you at this point in time. Okay. So one of the things we have, once you accept that the current reality is all you have to play and work with, it becomes harder to redesign. If you see if you observe what we're seeing in the screen and say, this is what I have to work on, guess what? Then we go into fix mode. Then we go into saying, oh, how can I make it better? Because that's all I have to work with. And this is what manifestation, the older version of imagination was about. How can I fix this? How can I upgrade this? How can I change this? You definitely want to observe how the world is, but you're not going to reflect to that. You're not going to accept it as that's my current reality and that's all I have to play with. Because a lot of people get caught up and say, well, this is my life. This is where I'm at. That's all I have. I have nothing else. How am I going to do this? How can I go here? Whatever it is, you got to go outside of that. And how do you go outside of that? You say, okay, great. That's what it's been. Fantastic. Put it aside and then go in. Tune into your heart. Then at that point in time, it opens up things hugely. You're not still limited to what you've been playing up to that point in time. So as much as it may have been a reality for you, and currently it might still be playing, that's not all you have to work with. That is actually harder to work with because that has limits. This has limits. This is massive expansion, massive potentiality, massive, there's no restrictions there. You can go beyond. If you look at the world, we've made progress. We say, okay, technologically, we've made progress. Yeah, you can look at it that way. But have we really made progress? Yeah, we have, but small amounts in comparison to what we have capable of. You're still looking at, oh, we got viruses, we got this, we got that, we got to fight this, we got to do that, we got shortage of energy, we got all of that. That's still that inverted separated reflection of that. But when you're in that new world, you now see the restrictions are not there. Yeah, you may not bring it all at once. You'll be bringing it in stages and larger stages. Then you see that everything kind of, you have what you need when you need it, how you need it, but you're not going to need what you needed before, because a lot of the needs that we have are program needs. So what you need is just going to be reflective of whatever it is, but you can bring all of that in and we create an environment. Are we using technology in the way that best serves us? No, we're creating it still in that inverted matrix to restrict it. Now, of course, there have been some technologies, but are kind of in the waiting to come to the surface. You know, lack of energy, non-existent. It's just an illusionary projection. The fact that we, have to have different resources and so forth, those are kind of still the old construct to create separation, survival, struggle, distraction and all that stuff. But the thing is, in that new world, it doesn't reflect that, because we can go beyond it. So a lot of the things that we found very difficult to deal with right now, we already have things that will complement it, so it doesn't have to continue to project that old restriction. Go ahead.
Ross is asking, won't there be a kind of bridging from where we are to where we want to go?
Yes, and we're already experiencing the bridging. We are in the process of bridging. And the bridging will change. So in essence, what we do as we're going through it, see, the thing is, to expedite the changes, you go into that reality within yourself. That's already painting the picture. Now, what you're doing is you're accessing that new world. You're transitioning from the old world. So here you are transitioning from this old world. While you're doing that, you're going to use different constructs and different operating systems. We're not ready to say, okay, we don't need to eat anymore like we used to before the modification. We may not be ready yet to say, okay, there's no monetary system, there are no systems, there are no laws, there are none of this stuff. We create everything where everybody has access to everything. We create it so that all of us can share it or whatever it is. And we're not talking about, a lot of these community things. There will be some of that community stuff there, but that's to the degree. So we say, okay, well, and this is the thing, while we're doing the stages, these bridgings of sorts, if you want to call it that, is actually enhancing us and creating a platform to us to move forward along the way. So you're going to say, okay, the transition is, say, from the monetary system. Well, first of all, money was always plugged in to create distraction, to slow things down, to separate, to enslave. A lot of people like to call it that because, put a lot of effort in. We tied survival into it, control, manipulation, and all that stuff while we were playing in that inverted matrix. Absolutely. So, say in the monetary system, all of a sudden we have a little bit more access to it, and we use it where it's no longer controlling us, and eventually we phase it out. And that eventually won't be that far away, because you'll notice that we don't even require it. And I'm not even talking about paper money or coins or whatever else. We're talking even digital money, or all of that stuff will dissolve. The fact that we have to have markets, we have to have an economy or anything of that nature, at this point, you have to understand, is not necessary. We can create something very different, but we're going to go through those stages because we're still learning from it, we're growing from it, and there are a lot of people that are, requiring those bridgings and so forth. But the bridging won't be a bridging where, you're taking forever like we have to move forward into that transitional or to that new construct of way of life. Go ahead.
This is another question from Belinda. Seems that the inverted 3D is stronger than ever, and the souls playing with it are not waking up. Can you explain more on how we are going to move forward while the rest seems to be left behind? It's hard for me to understand from a physical sense.
Yes, well, you have to understand. Some people, before they make changes, that's all of us to some degree or another, really have to get to the point they're pushed to the max, meaning that they go so deep into it. They feel the restrictions so deep and the polarization, because you're also having the higher vibrations coming in at the same time, which was not as prevalent as before. Meaning that you have to get to a saturation point where you go, okay, I'm going to play here, I'm going to continue until you get to the point of saying, all right, I can't continue this anymore. It's time to let it go. And this is the thing. So right now, the polarization has been massively intensified. Why? I know I've talked about it before, but I'm going to bring it up again. Because a lot of people have put so much investment, so much energy, are gripped so hard to that old world as identification. This is my survival. This is all there is. And the fact that they're creating a dependency and expectations from the outside world, that they're holding on to it so tight, so that separation goes back to what we were saying earlier. That separation is much more prevalent, meaning the old world versus the new world. And of course, we're going to dance back and forth. So yes, it's going to seem like it's going crazy, and more people are going deeper. But the thing is, look at it this way. Now, I've been observing this for many years, many decades actually. The progress, the awakening process, the people that are shifting from completely closed state to becoming more open, the amount of more people that are attracted to the sense of a higher knowing or to see other potentialities have increased immensely. Why? Because the discomfort, the ignoring is becoming harder and harder. Look at it this way. The fear that is being projected so powerfully by the media, by so-called self-designated authorities, through a cluster that's still holding on and projecting that old world. Look at the playmates in the politics. Look at the playmates that are in the medical world and all the different other facets, including religions and so forth. Guess what's happening? More and more is being exposed. We get to see more and more how it works. It's showing more and more that they actually don't have authority, that the fact that what they're sharing makes no sense. In fact, they're acting up in such chaotic state, it's really nudging people that are so close-minded to say, no, 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 I rely on whatever it is, to start to question, to start saying, wait a minute here. You mean I am this elephant with this cable tied down? I'm seeing that there's only a peg and I'm a powerful being and I can pull out of this at any time. But they can't see it until they get pushed. Now, some people don't need as much pushing because they may have started already to start questioning things and already started making changes because they already came somewhat turned on, more turned on, and as the energies come on, they've come on more turned. Others are so turned off. Now, not everybody's going to get on the same page. Absolutely not. Unless things change, they say, okay, we're going to play the role as deep and as powerful as possible, and then we'll exit. Exit meaning they won't appear anymore. It's a holographic expression. They'll disappear. Or they will show the dropping of the physicality. Now, the only reason you would drop a physicality at this point in time is because it is representative to the playmates around. Because if we believe that a physicality has to die for it to stop playing a role on the planet, then of course there's a big collective mass that says, okay, people die. But that's not the only way to disappear. You have to understand, they're just projections or spectrums of light. That projection can stop projecting. That energy code and that frequency can stop. They disappear. We're already experiencing how many people that we used to relate with, we don't. Because they're not there anymore. Okay, they may be playing in another sector of the planet or in another dimensional state within the planet, but the thing is, you're just playing with the playmates that you're in. and know what comes to your in your presence. So we have to understand, even the 7.7, 7.8 billion people that are on the planet, there are not that many people. There isn't even that. If you had to look at an overview and say, well, we have that many spectrums of light aiming, but the thing is, they don't get turned on until you're there present to play with them. Yeah, they hold a certain energy for all the different playmates at different parts, but you have to understand. They're all engaging in all of this, but their realism, there is none. We'll have to go on a whole episode for that alone.
We have other,
Go ahead.
Go
ahead before.
About money, but I think we'll save it for another episode because around lack and the monetary system and our fears around it. And like, do you want to just maybe we'll put it aside and do another episode on money?
Just really quickly, we'll do a one on money. But in this essence, this whole lack and
and associating it with freedom and all that stuff.
Yeah, associating it with freedom and stuff like that. That is programmed because there is no lack. We're playing in the lack game. Okay, we give power to the lack game. Yes, the system is still reflecting that. But the thing is, that's breaking down too. So in essence, going into that reality, and that's why I was saying, when you're going into that envisioned state, you're not going to say, okay, I need all these things in place to make my world. No, you already create that world, because in that visualization, in that creative mode, there is no requirements. You're just utilizing your source field energy of pure essence, of pure potentiality, and you're creating the world from that, because that's all there is. We can't say, I'm looking at spectrums of what exists, which are just holographic light shows, and saying that's the only light frequency I can use. It's like saying, here's a pack of crayons. These are the only crayons I can use. When you're going into the heart, when you're going in there, you're not limited to crayons. You have no limits. You can plug in, create, and shape and change anything to all degrees. So you really, when you have something of that nature coming up, you want to look at what's the story behind it and so forth, and then really go into that state. I mean, we all get caught in it to ourselves and whatever else, because we're still playing part of the game and whatever else, and at this point in time. But the more time you spend in going to where these resources are not required for us to create, then you're altering it. And then of course certain things will come about to support you as the bridging part, as it was mentioned before. Okay? But we'll talk about it a little. Therefore, it's crucial to step beyond what may seem like your reality. Okay? Whatever you've adopted as a reality, what seems to be your reality, your life stream, with lack, with limitations, with lack of skill sets, being caught up wherever you are, with certain playmates, whatever it is, or responsibilities, you have to go, it's crucial to step beyond that. Okay, this is my current reality. And that's okay, the reality is perfectly fine. But now I'm going to work on another reality. I'm going to go into that limitless reality. And then that limitless reality will start to merge into the current reality and create changes. But you're not doing it because you're looking at your restrictions. Because if you're focusing on going in, like I said earlier, if you're focusing, I got to go in and fix my current reality, then you're in the fix mode. It restricts you. You say, okay, that's my reality. That's what I've created up to now. Perfect. I'm fine with that. But I'm not going to tap into that world that exists with me, that reality that wants to express through me, that world, that reality that is ready to beam out and to merge and connect with not only my immediate reality, my extended reality, and the collective reality. And that's how you put your focus on. It does not matter what you have experienced in the past. You may have experienced lack. You may have restrictions. You may have gone through whatever happened in your past. What you chose to do or didn't choose to do, what you experienced, what you didn't experience, who played what role, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you played a small life up to this point in time. You go, doesn't matter. I'm now going to go and bring forth what's in me, and I'm going to see it. I'm going to feel it. I'm going to express it. I'm going to experience it through me. And you start living that way within that. So you're going into that creative, imaginative state that does not reflect on the past, does not reflect what you've had up to this point in time. Like I was saying, you're looking at the world and you say, well, okay, that's what it is. That's been the co-creation up to this point in time. I'm going to access further, not to fix it or anything of that nature. Same thing with the past. You don't have to go back and say, I got to fix the past. No, the past brought you where you are today. Every step, everything was a beautiful co-creation and individualized creation to bring you where you are today. That's it. So it does not matter. It does not matter. If you use the past or what you see reflected around you, it will limit you. Absolutely. By using the past or what's around you, that's reflected around you, it will limit you. Your possibilities restrict. It shows, oh, this is all I have. Oh, how could this all change? Oh, look at this. I'm too old, too young, too this, too that, whatever it is. As long as you say, I haven't been able to do anything up to this point in time because my past has been bumpy, colorful, whatever you want to call it. And if I look at my reality, look, I'm in a situation where I'm not able to make changes. Guess what? It will limit you. So you don't want to bring that into it. And I say, okay, great. I'm just going to pure imagination, pure source, essence, connecting with yourself. And then the limits won't be there. As much as the ego likes to fight, resist, compete, your true essence just flows. But the ego also says it's hard. You have to appease others. This is real. There's resources restriction. There is educational restriction, which is all, just stories. But it will create that. It just plays with that. Because it wants to fight the system, fight whatever you're doing. It wants to resist change. It wants to compete with others. But your true essence just flows. Great. I created, I experienced, my past were just beautiful sequences. Where I am at right now, I get to play with this. Let me move forward. Go ahead.
Someone is asking, are we not limited by universal laws?
You're right. There is a law, many laws. I'm just kidding. Universal law, if you're looking at it, okay, there's several laws. Universal law is allowing yourself to be fully yourself and allowing that you have come here to play with other versions of yourself. So you work with each other. There are no restrictive laws, but at the same time, there's an honoring and respecting of one another to provide each one of us to be ourselves, each one of us to be free. And I know we could turn around and say, oh, I'm just allowing people to be themselves. Or you're allowing yourself to be yourself. The question is, are you really allowing yourself to be yourself? Or anybody else allowing themselves to be themselves? Or are they playing an adopted, conditioned life? There are no laws. There have been some guidelines, but the guidelines is already within us, with the realization that we use those guidelines to shape what we want to create within our reality. The thing is, one of the guidelines is not to restrict one another. We don't have to condemn each other, but we can play the game. It's really about freedom, fluidity, advancement, enlightenment, playfulness. Yeah, you can turn around and say, well, you know, the world has been a playful playground. Absolutely, it has. It has a lot of laws, a lot of restrictions, a lot of confinements. See, the thing is, people in their natural state do not kill each other, do not fight with each other. They may play with each other, share with each other, but they honor that they're an aspect of each other. As one flourishes, you flourish. As you flourish, the other flourishes. That's a knowing. That's in our very fiber of our operating system. Even the organic matrix reflects that. We feel so good because it feels more enriching for us when we play with one another, when we are sharing with one another, when we are creating an environment where we can be with others. Look at how well it feels when you're with people that you align with. It's so nice, so fulfilling to be able to share with other aspects of yourself, to be able to play with other aspects of yourself, to be able to just be part of that whole experience. It's really just realizing that. So, you know, sometimes they say, well, universal laws, you know, are there to protect. They're not. The universal laws is basically a guideline that says, here we are, we allow ourselves freedom, we play within an honor system where we respect each other and allow each other to be themselves. And the polarity stuff is a projection. It was never really a true operating system. We're not going to be killing each other, taking you know, power over each other. That was the old programming that was put in. Our natural state was never about that, because you experience way more growth when you cooperate and collaborate with one another. So you can go into your imagination. You can visualize the world that reflects through you. What ends up happening is that you're transmitting all of that. It becomes incorporated with the changes that are going on. Some may be way too far for the rest of the collective, so that will be incorporated but not realized or experienced. Should you get to a point where you're so advanced that this playground is moving slowly because it's allowing more, now of course the slow part speeded up, and then it's speeding up anyways because of the fact that we're no longer operating in the same way we were before, the same fashion. But how was I going to say it? I just lost my thought. Yeah, I was going to say it. I was trying to find the words to say it. What? Okay.
Sorry, I was typing something.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. Anyways, I'll carry on. And then it'll come back to me. So, what we create and experience does affect the collective, as I was saying earlier. A collective experience, and it is more impactful than most realize. So this goes back right from the beginning where I say, well, whatever you're experiencing, what you're imagining, what you're already projecting through you is very powerfully affecting in such a fashion to really expedite the movement forward in a big way and to create much powerful transformation. It's also stimulating many more people or aspects of ourselves to align not exactly to your state of reflection, but their own truer reflection. So it's not limited. You're basically, every part of us, every one of us is constructing every facet of it. And each one of us are contributing to some degree or another. Even the ones that are in that so-called closed-minded, fear state, whatever it is, they're playing a role too, to accentuate accentuate maybe themselves less than, but accentuate because we're all one. So in essence, we're all supporting each other. Okay, playing with an example to bring into context. All right, so I'm going to use an example. This example I've used for a long time ago. I haven't used it in a long, long time. And the question comes up where people can shift their reality. This is a client that I worked with many years ago, a decade or so ago. And it was very reflective. At the time, I did ask them if I can share the experience without saying names or anything of that nature. So this particular individual was having a challenge with their spouse. And one of the challenges that they were having is the fact that the spouse was playing an abusive role, a victimizer role. And this particular client was playing the victim role. And this particular client was also the recipient of that victimizer. And for being the victim, that was reflective on what we would experience in the physical form. Now, because of her belief system, stories, programs, and belief system, that first of all, the male is more powerful, stronger, that you don't have any power, and the fact that she didn't have any way to shift the whole reality. So this went on for quite some time, and when she came to see me some years ago, we talked about it. We looked at it and said, okay, how do you feel when this is happening? Well, there was a lot of fear, absolutely. Feeling disempowered, feeling that she was powerless and that he was a lot stronger or whatever it is. So we did a little bit of an exercise. I said, okay, let's do this. We looked at some of the fears and the stories around, being weaker, not having any power, being in a disempowered, being a victim state. So we kind of addressed some of that. So what I said to her at the time, I said, okay, we did some other work around that. And I said, okay, when you go home, should you be in that same scenario, or presented that scenario again as the victimizer coming to you, this time we're not going to put focus on the victim. And what I want you to do is to look this spouse, this partner of yours, in the eyes and say, hey, no, I'm not playing there anymore. Because before, she would be afraid and she would go into this regress state and feeling that in some way that she was deserving or ready to receive what we call physical abuse. So she did that. And what ended up happening, to put more context to that, is that this partner had said to her, is that if you try to leave, because one of the things that people were telling her, you should leave, we'll come and get you, and we'll, if you report me to the authorities, then I will, get my family to come after you, specifically brothers. So don't even try. Now, she did try at one point to escape, and just to add context to the intensity of that particular experience. So she was not allowed to leave. She was not allowed to contradict him. Now, that was a co-created scenario that she unconsciously created, that environment to access a level of empowerment that she wasn't utilizing in previous lives or whatever it is. So after that first session and whatever else, we, had suggested her to go home and stare him in the eyes if he's coming into abusive state. And of course, he drank a lot and so forth, and that was one of the major stimulators. So in essence, what ended up happening is that when she went home, she had that particular situation happen, and she looked him in the eyes and said, no, we're not playing there anymore. I'm not even supporting this, whatever it is. I can't remember the exact words we found for her at that time, but close to that. And what ended up happening is that there was still a little bit of fear, stuff that we hadn't addressed yet, and whatever else. So she did revert to a certain degree of victim state, and the victimizer was able to, but she didn't end up having any experience in the physical abuse part. But she did receive verbal abuse. So there was some level. After the next visit that we worked on it, we went a little deeper, looked at whatever else was there. We ended up accessing an empowered state. And when she ended up having that next night that she went home from the session, for example, I said the same thing. I said, when you go, if he comes home inebriated and acts out and whatever else, I want you to stare him in the eyes and then tell him, no, we're not doing this, and that's it, right? From an empowered state. Now, the fears and stuff like that, we had to work on, of course, and she was more empowered in that. So the partner comes home, he was inebriated, but this time it was one of the worst. Like, possibly other times it was just as bad, but there was just, you know, in a worse state. And fully launched, but she stood her ground. Not as a defiant, but in neutrality, and looked them in the eyes and said, no, we're not doing this, and walked away. What ended up happening is no verbal abuse, no physical abuse, but paralyzation of sorts. Because the partner couldn't play the role any longer. Because, first of all, she stepped out of the victim state, so the victimizer couldn't play the state. The second part, it was an empowered state now meeting an energy that required disempowerment to tangle with. So the person did not move, and I won't give you the rest of the details to put contents, because just in case somebody knows this person, and I didn't want to elaborate it further. But the partner ended up just drinking some more, going to sleep on the couch, and that was it. What ended up happening within a few days, the so-called partner, the one that said, you don't dare leave because I will kill you, that was the term, the words he was using. If I don't, my brothers will. To the point he came to her and said, listen, I can't stand you anymore, I don't want to live with you, I'm leaving. What changed? The state of the individual changed. From victim to empowered. Not that it required her to physically contradict or physically compete with or fight that state. She stepped out of the victim state. Neutrality state is no longer requiring the playmate because the victimizer requires another victim to play. The energies were very different, could not be expressed, and found it very difficult because that particular individual still needed to express that because that's what they chose to do, and decided to go their separate ways. This particular person noticed that life changed in a very powerful way because of it. All that changed was that. So the thing is, you could see how your immediate reality can change by just going. But now we have a more powerful tool. This was like, I don't know, a decade and a half ago, maybe a little less than that. Definitely over a decade ago. I'm giving you that particular example because first of all, I got approval to share it, but without the specifications. But at the same time, it had such a powerful contrast, which a lot of people can relate with through observation. Same thing with, you know, when I had students at one time, years ago, that I took them through a process where they didn't have to, we worked at any of their fears that they had and any stories that, you know, other people can hurt them. And then part of the exercise was walking through a part of a neighborhood that had a lot of violence and so forth. Again, this goes back a decade and a half ago, going through a particular area where there was a lot of violence and so forth, and be able to walk through it in neutrality and notice that they weren't even noticed. None of us were noticed because they were engaged with victimizers, and they were conflicting with themselves. And even if they were right in your face, you were pretty well not in their range to engage. So these examples is just to give you an idea of just shifts within yourself. And this is why by letting go of the old world, I got those there, by disengaging from this, then the playmates in all of this do not bleed into the new world. Yes, of course, we can shift back and forth temporarily until we get it all out of our system, but then the new world is all that exists. All the connections and partnerships, relationships, and everything else play out that reflects on the new world. And the more you focus on this world, we're actually deteriorating this a lot quicker and bringing everything into the newer world sort of state. Okay, this was supposed to be a short introduction, setting the stage, not a 2-hour conversation here. We didn't even get to the visualization part. My sweetheart says, I told you so. I said to her, believe it or not, as we get to play, yeah, it's going to be 15 or so minutes that we're going to set the stage before we get into the visualization process. And here we are 2 hours later. All right. So what do? We can it for the day and say, see you another day? Or do we go ahead and do it?
Better do the process, honey.
Okay. I guess the boss says we do the process. I don't dare challenge her because she'll smack me. I'm just kidding. It's just like playful. Okay. So since I've talked for two hours, and hopefully it's all helped you to kind of stage this. So the next part of the process that we're going to do, or the process that we're going to do, because all of this that I've shared is actually encoded, activated, changed, made changes within yourself, which basically you made the changes, not me. We're going to do a process where we're going to tune into that higher level of visualization. We're going to go beyond the visualization and beyond the resources that we've used up to this point in time to create our realities with. So we're going to take 2 minutes to find yourself a place that is comfortable. If you're driving, if you're doing something that requires your attention, do this later. You can listen to it. This will be available, and I will separate it if it helps you. I will separate and put a second video just with this process part, the second part. So the video that we're streaming now will have all of it together, and then I'll just put one with just the process itself so you can repeat it. What I would suggest is to repeat it on a regular basis. That helps with the encodements. It helps you utilize these energies coming in. It helps utilize the purging of the old world. Because the more you experience that new world, that higher aspect of the old world becomes more obsolete. It starts to dissolve a lot quicker. It creates a shift within yourself a lot more efficiently. Because if we want to create the new world, don't wait for the world to change. We're the ones that are changing the world. Okay, so living the change really, has a truth to it. But the thing is, what we're doing here is we're going to access what your reality looks like from within, from the part that's ready to merge. And you will notice, so that you know, each time you repeat this, there will be more of an adjustment. And what is this adjustment? You will access a little bit more. You will crystallize it a little more. You will make it take more realism and more form. And each time you do that, it becomes even more impactful. And it starts to not only change your pattern, because your neural communication channels within yourself starts to alter. And it gets you to a higher vibration. That means all of the older patterns of the lower vibration starts to disintegrate. It starts to lose its capacities to navigate and to keep you in that older state. So all of these things will work for you, okay, to create these changes within yourself. All right? So you will notice you will change, and then things will start to notice around you. How you feel will shift also. How you feel what you see around you. You will also see it more as a game more as an opportunity of playfulness, more of an opportunity of being an instrument of this changing. You will interact with others in a different way, in the way of more lightness. You will create a much more powerful energetic transmission from you that's affecting not only the collective, but anybody that comes in your vicinity. Now, because we're all connected to family dynamics, that will stream through them, through the not neural connections, but this what we call, oh, what's the name of it? Pathways? No, not neural pathways. There's lineage connections. There's another name for it, I can't think. The connections within our lineage, okay? So that'll stem to family, whatever it is, right? And also, it will also stream through the souls, but the souls, or what we call the collective souls, but the souls that within our soul family, our twin soul and so forth, and they will receive and also contribute along the way. So there's a lot going on each time you do this. The reason we've put the focus on this is because for us to truly start to live it, feel it, experience it, and to accentuate and expedite the changes around in our playground, we call the world, we will need to put more attention to that world that's within ourselves, because it really wants to come up. So a lot of the uncomfortableness that you've been feeling is the contrast, because the old world wants to dissolve, the new world wants to emerge, and it's not like it's competing, it's just it's creating such an environment that all of that. And this is why a lot of people are finding it very difficult to associate with the old world, associate with what represented them at one point or another, what really said, okay, that's my reality. Okay, so let's take a couple of minutes and just go ahead and make yourself comfortable, and then we'll go through the process. Okay, I've changed my microphone so that we can hear me a little louder, because sometimes I talk a little lower when I'm doing the process. I'm just turning up the volume a bit on this end. Okay, at some point when you repeat this, if you have a pair of headsets, that usually works, and being in a quiet space where you're not interrupted. But for now, we'll just deal or use the environment that you have to play with. Okay, so since we're doing this together, we're going to lock in the highest aspects of all of us coming together and to create the perfect environment to support us. Could I add this? What's that?
I am not hearing you.
You're not hearing me. Um, okay. Maybe something going on with your thing. Did you? Okay. So let's make sure it doesn't get muted. Maybe. Can you check? See if you got it on the right spot. Okay. Just adjust your volume, see if you don't have it on mute. No? As long as everybody else can hear you. So we're just working on some technology.
This is the right one, right?
Mm-hmm. You're on the right.
It was working earlier,
Okay.
so that's weird. Do you have another one? Oh, I'll try this.
Yeah.
Now I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Maybe there was a long delay. Okay. Great. Sorry for the interruption there. All right. As you're in this beautiful, quiet, comfortable space, you can close your eyes and just focus on the breath and just allow yourself to be completely immersed in this beautiful, natural state of breath. Breathing gently, comfortably, and deeply without any stress and strain. Breathing in and out. And just feeling the full sensation of the breath. And by being present in the breath, allowing yourself to become relaxed and go into a state of ease like the breath. The breath is a reflection of fluidity, a reflection of movement, just allowing flow in and out. It's a reflection of life. We flow with life in and out. We create realities. We co-create realities. We experience and enrich ourselves in the realities. And then we allow those realities to dissolve. We don't hold it, don't label it, we don't carry it. That way we stay current at all times. It's not about holding on to any particular reality. We allow reality to advance, to expand. So right now, all we're doing is focusing on the breath. Each time we breathe in, feel that beautiful energy that you feel flowing into your body. As you exhale, just feel that energy flowing through you, outside of you. At the same time, each time you exhale, just allow yourself to be able to really let go of any tension, tightness, resistance, or anything that you may feel stressed about. This is not a mind activity. You're just breathing out any tension that you feel. If there's any physical discomfort, as you breathe it out, just allow it to be breathed out. Each time you breathe in and out, becoming more and more relaxed, more and more at peace. You're stepping into your natural state of ease, fluidity, playfulness, lightness. Your natural state of non-resistance, of cooperation, collaboration, and redesign. Each breath brings forth, gives birth to a new you. Each exhale is letting go of an old you. And as you are doing this, you're going into that more relaxed state. To facilitate at this time, we now ask your soul to fully embody. Soul, fully embody. Align with the body, the human entity, and the mind. Activate home frequency, the highest frequency that you can utilize right now to create the perfect environment for the process that we're going to play with together. This home frequency is the frequency that has been utilized in all incarnations and all connections. Being that we are source, spirit, essence creators, we activate within ourselves the highest source, spirit, frequency, and current state of being. The highest version of you right now. Human entity and body share, unite with this beautiful dance together. I choose, as you make that statement to yourself, I choose to be fully present with the very highest essence of myself now. I am free from the past. I am free from the future. I am present in the now, the creation now, the newest now. And let's be present. It has no past, it has no future, it has just now. While still breathing gently in and out, feeling that ease of in and out. And let's put our attention in our heart. Just focus on the heart, the center of your chest. If you can see this beautiful ball of light, that's fine. If you don't see it, just put your attention to whatever energies you feel at the heart chakra area, which is basically right next to the heart, or encompassing part of the heart. If you feel that energy, just allow it to expand. Expand throughout your body and then outside of your body. If you can envision a beautiful ball of light, just see that light getting brighter and brighter. It's like a sun glowing, emanating light extending out. As that ball of light expands, it encompasses your whole body and beyond your body. Feel, see, experience yourself as that beautiful beam of energy and light in your heart. Aligning your mind to the heart. Accessing limitless pure potential. As you're in that beautiful energy and space of the heart, you're accessing the highest aspect of yourself in this projection, which reflects as a human representation. And with the alignment of your mind and your heart, bringing forth your human entity and your body, feeling as one beautiful, powerful unit, call forth the world within you. See that world within you. See the world where you are feeling free, excited, playful. See yourself in that world, dancing and playing with other playmates, without the old restrictions and old patterns of life. Feeling and sharing the love that you have in that dance with other playmates. Feel and experience the opportunity to hug and to love and to appreciate each other. To acknowledge that you are facets of each other. being completely free. Independent of the old systems and structures of the world. Independent from the old resources of the world. Independent for others to shape our world. Embracing the unknown, because there is no unknown. There is only opportunity that you will create for you and other aspects of you that you choose to play with. Free from restrictions, boxes, and old realities. You can allow yourself to dissolve all of your old realities for now, making space for new realities to be created that is not adhered or reflective of the old reality. Any restrictions or lack, set it free. In this playground, in your reality, your imagination, that does not exist. Authority, governance does not exist. We create, experience, and play with love, your very source essence. And let's activate free, unbridled, restrictionless imagination and creativity. pure possibilities, pure creation. Allowing access to all realms of experience that best supports us. To expand our reality. We ask our soul family, as we are connected to our oversoul, and specifically our twin soul, to share, to provide an expansive vision, to only stimulate our own. We remind ourselves we are the spirit of Source. As spirit, we are Source in action, Source in creation, Source in experiencing, Source in advancement. We are powerful, limitless creators. Our natural state is to create. Creating ourselves and our reality to play in that creation. We are the observant or the observer of creation, with the opportunity to constantly expand our creation. We are unique expressions of spirit, of Source. We are redesigning ourselves in what looks like form. Redesigning the extended version of ourselves, as we call it, Gaia. Planet, including all sentient playmates, and the multifaceted aspects of ourselves. As we are in this state, just allow your imagination to blossom. See how things unfold. Be present in the whole experience as it unfolds for you. Become familiar with that state. For that is your natural state. Observe how you feel right now. Be open to the excitement, the joy of being you, being here on this playground, being here with other aspects of yourselves. Feel the excitement and joy to participate in the way you can and are. At any time, should any old parts of you show up, thank it, love it, and set it free into the field. The field is all around you. The field is pure spirit, source essence, and source itself. Everything is the field. Each one of us has a specific field within the different layers of field. We create within this field of consciousness, spectrum of light, energy, and frequency. The field is not limited. The field is purely responsive to you as the localized consciousness, playing with other aspects of localized consciousness. In this state, there is no fear, just excitement and playfulness. Your imagination will continue to expand and reach higher levels. We call forth very specific energies, spectrum of light, and activating codes from the galactic central sun, from our own solar system, from Gaia, and from the inner sun, to move through us, igniting us, supercharging us, expanding us, crystallizing us, purging us. To the degree we are open to do so. You are the purest form of love. Love is spirit in action. Love is the foundation of creation, of playfulness. Love is limitless. Love is the fabric of our essence. Love creates. Love experiences in its creation. Love advances in its creation and becomes a grander aspect of love as source, as spirit. We will spend time to really be present in this state. And each time we will become more accustomed, more aligned with this state. And this state will expand, will become clearer, easily accessible. Taking a more powerful, active role as the designer of the human experience and world. For that is why you are here. The powerful being that you are. You are everything that is. Let's put our attention back onto the breath and be fully present with the beautiful movement of the breath. Being present with the inhalation and exhalation. Feeling your whole essence in the breath. Body, mind, human entity, and soul. A synchronization and alignment is created through the breath. An ease and reminder of your state occurs with the breath. It's the reminder as we see ourselves in human form. It is the activator and stimulator as we experience ourselves in what looks like human form. Let's take the next 5 breaths to lead us from the state that we're in into what we call an awakened observer state with our eyes wide open and present into our reality. The reality that has already shifted some and will continue to do so each and every time you repeat this process. Each and every time you repeat this process, you align yourself even further. You illuminate yourself even further. This is only a tool to support you. It is not something to rely on. You already are everything that is. This stimulates that focal point for you. It is a gift you've given to yourself. I am you. You are asking the reminder of you. So as we continue to focus on the breath, after the fifth complete breath in and out, gently and comfortably open your eyes. Be wide awake and present in your reality. The reality that is in the process of transformation. A reality that is not rigid. A reality that you are shaping. And that is so. Welcome back. What you've experienced is your creation. What you have experienced, you started to trigger even more powerfully your imagination and creativity beyond this current reality. It's the world within you that is now shaping your immediate reality and all the extended reality and the collective reality. We are all doing this together. Thank you for this beautiful co-creation, this opportunity to play together, this opportunity to align with one another and to create a beautiful hub and energetic field. What we've just experienced, what we've worked and did together, not only created a shift in each one of us, which is only going to continue to expand, but it has also created a powerful ripple effect in your immediate reality and the global reality. It just reminds you how powerful you are. It reminds you you're exactly where you need to be to participate in all of this. And that's what we did together. Thank you again. Feel free to share with as many people as possible. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. If you haven't shared, share. If you haven't followed, follow. If you haven't commented, comment. Do whatever. The more we reach out, the more powerful it becomes. I thank everybody that has contributed and supported us financially. We are open to the support to allow us to focus on this work more powerfully. We provide all of this at no cost to assist and not impair anyone. However, we are playing with whatever we're playing with in this world, and while the financial game is still there, we're open to receive at whatever resonates for you, if you even choose to do so. No requirement, no expectations on our end. In the links you will notice you can join the community. You can access also other workshops and so forth. And we have an upcoming workshop which we will be announcing shortly. So until next time, go out and play, be the powerful you, and much love to you all.